The hustle trap that's keeping you broke. You're working 16-hour days. You're hustling harder than everyone around you. You're doing all the things the success gurus tell you to do. Grinding, pushing, forcing, making it happen. And yet, the money isn't coming. Or it comes in exhausting, unsustainable bursts that leave you depleted. Here's what nobody's telling you: your hustle is the problem. The harder you try, the more you repel the very wealth you're chasing. You're stuck in force mode when what you need is quantum receiving mode. And until you understand the difference, you'll keep working harder for less. Let me explain what's actually happening when you're in hustle mode. You're operating from a frequency of lack. Think about it. Why do you hustle? Because you're afraid there's not enough. Because you believe if you don't force it, it won't happen. Because you think you have to earn every penny through blood, sweat, and sacrifice. All of this is scarcity consciousness. And scarcity consciousness, no matter how hard you work, can only create more scarcity. Here's the quantum truth that will blow your mind. Money is energy, and energy responds to frequency, not force. When you're in hustle mode, you're broadcasting a signal that says, "I don't have enough, I'm not enough, I have to fight for every dollar." That frequency repels abundance. It's like trying to attract a magnet by pushing the same pole toward it. The harder you push, the more resistance you create. This is why you see people working half as hard as you making twice as much money. It's not because they're smarter or more talented. It's because they're in receiving mode instead of force mode. They understand that wealth flows to openness, not to desperation. They've learned to align their energy with abundance instead of trying to strong-arm money into their lives through sheer effort. The hustle culture has sold you a lie. It told you that success requires sacrifice, grinding, and constant doing. It glorified exhaustion as a badge of honor. It made you believe that if you're not struggling, you're not working hard enough. But here's what they don't tell you: struggle is not a prerequisite for wealth. In fact, struggle is often the very thing blocking your wealth. Think about the wealthiest people you know or have studied. Yes, they work. Yes, they take action. But there's a quality to their energy that's different from the hustler who's constantly stressed and striving. Wealthy people operate from a state of relaxed expectation. They trust that money flows to them. They're open to receiving. They're not desperately chasing, they're magnetically attracting. This is quantum receiving mode. Quantum physics tells us that the observer affects the outcome. Your energy, your frequency, your state of being literally influences what shows up in your reality. When you're in desperate hustle mode, you're observing from scarcity, and reality mirrors that back to you. When you shift into receiving mode, when you start observing from abundance, reality reorganizes to match that frequency. This isn't mystical thinking. This is how quantum mechanics works applied to wealth. The problem is that most people have been so conditioned by hustle culture that they've completely lost the ability to receive. They only know how to push, force, and do. They've forgotten how to allow, trust, and receive. And because receiving feels passive, it feels wrong. It feels like they're not doing enough. So they stay in hustle mode, repelling the very abundance they're working so hard to create. The energetics of money flow. Let's dive deeper into how money actually flows and why force disrupts that flow. Money, at its core, is energy. It's not just paper or numbers in a bank account. It's a form of life force energy that flows through systems, through people, through economies. And like all energy, it follows certain laws. One of those laws is that energy flows toward openness and away from constriction. When you're in hustle mode, you're energetically constricted. Your body is tense. Your mind is stressed. Your nervous system is in fight or flight. You're clenched, closed, contracted. And in that state, you cannot receive. It's like trying to pour water into a bottle with a closed lid. The water is there, abundance is available, but you're literally blocking it from entering your reality through your energetic closure. Receiving mode is the opposite. It's an energetic state of openness, relaxation, and trust. Your body is calm. Your mind is clear. Your nervous system is regulated. You're open, spacious, receptive. In this state, money can flow to you easily because there's no resistance, no blockage, no desperate clutching that repels it. You become a magnet instead of a chaser. Here's what makes this counterintuitive. Hustle culture has taught you that openness equals laziness, that relaxation equals not caring, that trust equals being irresponsible. So you resist receiving mode because it feels like you're not doing enough. But quantum receiving mode isn't about doing nothing. It's about doing from a completely different energy. It's about inspired action instead of desperate action. It's about aligned effort instead of forced effort. Think about your own experience with money. When did money show up most easily? I'm willing to bet it wasn't during your most stressed, desperate, hustling periods. It was probably during times when you were relaxed, enjoying life, feeling good, not thinking about money constantly. That's because in those moments, you were accidentally in receiving mode. You were open. You were aligned. And money found its way to you. The concept of money flow is critical to understand. Money doesn't come to you because you deserve it or because you worked hard for it. Money flows to you because you're in energetic alignment with it. You're on the same frequency. You're a match. And you cannot force yourself into alignment. You can only relax into it. This is the fundamental shift from hustle mode to receiving mode. In hustle mode, you're trying to control everything. You're micromanaging, overthinking, forcing outcomes, pushing against resistance. You're operating from the belief that if you don't make it happen, it won't happen. This creates a closed energetic system where money can only come through your direct effort, which severely limits how much you can receive. You hit a ceiling based on how much you can personally do. In receiving mode, you're co-creating with the universe. You're taking inspired action and then trusting the flow. You're doing your part and allowing the universe to do its part. You're open to money coming from unexpected sources, through synchronicities, through opportunities you didn't orchestrate. This creates an open energetic system where money can flow to you from infinite directions, not just through your direct effort. Your capacity to receive becomes unlimited. This is why the wealthiest people often talk about money showing up in surprising ways, through connections they didn't plan, through opportunities that seem to find them. They're not hustling harder. They're aligned differently. They're in receiving mode. And when you're in receiving mode, the universe conspires to bring you wealth in ways your hustling mind could never orchestrate. Why your nervous system blocks receiving. Now let's talk about the physiological reason why hustle culture blocks your ability to receive money. Your nervous system has two primary states: sympathetic, fight or flight, and parasympathetic, rest and digest. Hustle culture keeps you chronically in sympathetic activation. You're constantly in survival mode, perceiving threats, operating from stress. And here's the critical insight: you cannot receive when your nervous system is in survival mode. Think about it from an evolutionary perspective. When your ancestors were running from a predator, was that the time to stop and receive abundance? No. In survival mode, your system is designed to fight, flee, or freeze. It's not designed to open, trust, and receive. Those are parasympathetic functions. They only happen when your nervous system perceives safety. This is why chronic hustlers struggle to hold on to money even when they make it. Their nervous system never feels safe enough to truly receive and integrate the abundance. They make money and immediately spend it, lose it, or create a crisis that drains it. Because their system can only tolerate brief moments of abundance before the stress of their baseline state reasserts itself. They're physiologically programmed for struggle, not for receiving. Quantum receiving mode requires your nervous system to be in a parasympathetic state. This is when your body feels safe, calm, and resourced. This is when you can actually take in nourishment, whether that's food, love, or money. But if you've been in hustle mode for years, your nervous system has been trained to perceive rest as dangerous. The moment you slow down, anxiety floods in. Your mind tells you you're falling behind, missing opportunities, being lazy. So you snap back into hustle mode to ease the anxiety. This creates a vicious cycle. You hustle because you're anxious about money. The hustle keeps your nervous system activated, which blocks receiving. The lack of receiving creates more financial anxiety, which drives more hustle. Round and round you go, working harder and harder while blocking the very flow you're trying to create. Breaking this cycle requires you to retrain your nervous system to feel safe in receiving mode. This isn't something you can think your way through. You have to practice it somatically, in your body. You have to deliberately create moments where you slow down, breathe deeply, relax your body, and practice the feeling of receiving without immediately doing something to earn it or justify it. This might sound simple, but for chronic hustlers, it's revolutionary. Just sitting still and breathing deeply can trigger intense discomfort because your nervous system has been conditioned to equate stillness with danger. But this discomfort is the doorway to transformation. On the other side of that discomfort is a nervous system that can finally receive the abundance you've been working so hard to create. Here's another layer. Your nervous system's capacity to receive is directly related to your sense of worthiness. If you believe deep down that you don't deserve abundance unless you suffer for it, your nervous system will reject money that comes easily. It will literally create stress, drama, or problems to justify the money or to push it away. This is why some people self-sabotage right after receiving a big payment or opportunity. Their nervous system cannot integrate abundance that contradicts their core programming. Quantum alignment means your nervous system, your beliefs, and your actions are all coherent. You're not saying you want wealth while operating from a stressed, survival-based nervous system. You're not affirming abundance while your body is clenched in fear. You're cultivating an integrated state where every level of your being is open, relaxed, and aligned with receiving. This is when money flows effortlessly, shifting from force to flow. So how do you actually shift from force mode into quantum receiving mode? The first step is recognizing when you're operating from force. Force has a distinct feeling: urgency, tension, anxiety, desperation, the sense that if you don't do it right now, you'll miss out. When you notice these feelings, you pause. You don't judge them, but you recognize them as signals that you've shifted out of receiving mode and into hustle mode. The next step is conscious recalibration. You stop whatever you're doing, even if just for 60 seconds. You close your eyes. You take 3 deep breaths. You deliberately relax your shoulders, your jaw, your belly, all the places where you hold tension. You're not just relaxing your mind, you're relaxing your body, because receiving mode is a somatic state, not just a mental one. Then you practice what I call energetic opening. You visualize yourself as a vessel with a wide open top, ready to receive. You feel into the sensation of allowing rather than forcing. You might say to yourself, I am open to receiving. Money flows to me easily. I don't have to force it. But more important than the words is the feeling. You're cultivating the actual energetic state of receptivity. Here's a key distinction. Receiving mode doesn't mean you stop taking action. It means you take a different kind of action. Instead of desperate, forced action driven by fear, you take inspired action driven by alignment. How do you know the difference? Inspired action feels energizing, exciting, aligned. It pulls you forward. Forced action feels draining, anxiety-producing, like you're pushing against resistance. It's driven by the fear of what happens if you don't do it. In receiving mode, you become exquisitely attuned to inspiration. You wait for the pull, the inner yes, the moment when taking action feels effortless and aligned. And then you move. But you move from trust, not from fear. You move from fullness, not from lack. This is how you work with the quantum field instead of against it. Another crucial practice is creating space. Hustle culture glorifies being busy, having every hour scheduled, constantly doing. But receiving requires space. It requires gaps, pauses, moments of nothing. This is when the universe can reach you with opportunities, insights, and synchronicities. If you're constantly in doing mode, you miss the subtle guidance that would lead you to abundance with far less effort. This means you might need to schedule time to do nothing. I know that sounds counterintuitive when you're worried about money. But that spaciousness is what allows quantum alignment to occur. It's in the gaps between your effort that the magic happens. The universe needs room to work on your behalf, and it can't do that if you're controlling and forcing every moment. You also need to practice receiving in small ways throughout your day. Let someone pay for your coffee. Accept a compliment without deflecting. Allow someone to help you without immediately reciprocating. These small acts of receiving train your nervous system that it's safe to receive, that you don't have to earn every good thing, that abundance can flow to you without you forcing it. Over time, these micro-practices expand your capacity to receive larger and larger amounts of wealth. The shift from force to flow also requires you to release the addiction to struggle. Yes, addiction. Many people are addicted to struggling because it's familiar, because it makes them feel worthy, because it's what they know. Ease and flow feel foreign, even wrong. So they unconsciously create struggle to feel safe. Breaking this pattern means consciously choosing ease even when it feels uncomfortable, even when your old programming says you should be working harder. Living in quantum receiving mode. Once you begin operating from quantum receiving mode, your entire relationship with money transforms. Work becomes easier. Money flows more consistently. Opportunities appear that you didn't have to force. But maintaining this state requires ongoing practice because the world around you is still glorifying hustle, and your old patterns will try to reassert themselves. Living in receiving mode means you become a conscious energy manager. Throughout your day, you check in with your state. Am I open or closed? Am I flowing or forcing? Am I trusting or controlling? When you notice you've shifted into hustle mode, you gently bring yourself back to receiving mode. This isn't about perfection. It's about awareness and consistent recalibration. You'll also notice that receiving mode gives you access to a different quality of intelligence. When you're stressed and hustling, you can only access your survival brain, which is reactive, limited, and fear-based. When you're relaxed and in receiving mode, you access your higher intelligence, your intuition, your creative genius. This is where breakthrough ideas come from. This is where quantum solutions appear. You literally cannot access this level of intelligence while in hustle mode. Another profound shift is that money starts to come from unexpected sources. When you're hustling, money can only come through the channels you're directly working. But in receiving mode, you're open to the infinite ways the universe can deliver abundance to you. A refund you weren't expecting. An opportunity that finds you. A gift. An investment that pays off. Money flowing in from directions you never could have orchestrated through hustle alone. This is the essence of quantum alignment. You're no longer trying to control how abundance comes to you. You're simply staying in the frequency of receiving and allowing the quantum field to organize the details. Your job is to maintain the frequency, take inspired action when called, and trust the process. The universe's job is to deliver the abundance in whatever way is most aligned and effortless. You'll also find that you accomplish more in less time. This seems impossible to the hustler mind, but it's true. When you're in receiving mode, you're energetically efficient. You're not wasting energy on forced action, stress, and resistance. Every action you take is aligned and therefore exponentially more effective. 1 hour of inspired action in receiving mode can produce more results than 40 hours of forced action in hustle mode. Perhaps most importantly, you'll experience a quality of life that chronic hustlers never access. You'll have energy. You'll feel good. You'll enjoy the process instead of just grinding towards some future reward. You'll be present instead of constantly anxious about what you need to do next. And ironically, this state of presence and enjoyment is what makes you even more magnetic to wealth. The quantum field responds to your frequency, not your effort. When you're enjoying your life, feeling abundant, operating from trust and ease, you're broadcasting a signal that attracts abundance. When you're stressed, depleted, and desperately hustling, you're broadcasting a signal that repels abundance. It's that simple and that profound. So here's your invitation. What if you stopped trying so hard? What if you relaxed your grip? What if you trusted that abundance wants to flow to you and all you need to do is get out of your own way? What if the hustle isn't the path to wealth but the very thing blocking it? Quantum receiving mode isn't about doing less. It's about being different. It's about aligning your energy, trusting the flow, and allowing yourself to receive the wealth that's already trying to reach you. Stop forcing. Start flowing. This is how you access quantum abundance.